All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I am Dale with Realvolve, and I have been for the last almost 10 years now working very heavily in the automation, lead follow-up, and technology space in real estate. And so in a former life, I was a mortgage loan officer, and so I have over a decade's worth of experience here, and I'm excited to share just a few of the things that I've learned, some of the mistakes that I've made, and hopefully give you some really good tips and things that you can use, including some scripts and sample automations and things like that, that you can use in your business. So we are going to be recording this. It's being recorded and will be sent out. Also, would love to participate with you in a Q&A. We have a couple of polls that we'd love your feedback on. So any comments, please click on the chat, click on the Q&A. I also have a member of my team on the call with us to help me answer any questions that you all might have today. So let's jump right into it. So automation in real estate is so exciting to me because there are so many opportunities for automating things, and more and more all the time for personalizing our automation. So one thing that I've noticed is that the last century was really about perfecting automation and manufacturing and marketing, but really on a mass scale. So in the 20th century, we got really good at mass marketing, especially because of the internet. So the Model T Ford that you see here on the screen was Ford's invention, Ford's contribution to the world. And it wasn't the fact that he had invented this beautiful automobile. It really came down to the fact that he made it easy to manufacture and cheaper to manufacture. So it was sturdy, it was reliable, but it was too expensive until Ford perfected the assembly line. So that was really his big contribution to the world, was the assembly line. Again, in the 20th century, we've got the assembly line, but now for the last 20 years now, 21 years, it's been all about personalization. And, there are examples across the world. When I log into my Amazon account, I don't have to put in my address every time. I don't have to put in my credit card. I have all my list of things there. I have my recent orders. I have regular orders. So I get a different experience when I log into Amazon than you do, but they're both personalized. And so it creates this efficient but personalized experience. Even offline, Coca-Cola launched their Share a Coke ad campaign. It was wildly successful. Coca-Cola's sales were declining, and they launched this around the world in various markets, and it was a wild success for them. So they got people to drink more Coke simply because they printed out the most common names. It was like the 100 most common names in every country. They printed on the label, and it was a wild success. Same thing with social media, same thing with my Echo device and other home automation that we have. I get a slightly different experience. I can customize my experience. Even my Facebook and Twitter feeds are different than everybody else's. We think that we're seeing just a newspaper feed, but that's not the case. It is personalized to me based on my behaviors. And so that's what we're talking about today, is how can we do that in our real estate business? So what we're going to cover today is what you can and should be automating to keep your database healthy and constantly generate business, some simple automations that help save time and stay top of mind with your contacts, and how to make the most of your database. And that's a really key point, because our database can grow and can create more and more and more business. It takes energy to get our database follow-up started, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, we should really feel the momentum building if we're doing automation correctly and if we're keeping really good records. So first poll, Do you currently automate anything in your business? What is your biggest struggle with your contact database? So you should see a poll pop up here on your screen in just a minute, and I'll give you a minute to fill that out. All right, we got Kristen from Colorado. Welcome, fellow Coloradan. Las Vegas, New Jersey, Twin Cities, Williamsburg, South Denver, Calgary, Alberta. Hello, fellow Rocky Mountain resident. Let's see. Williamsburg, freezing rain here. Goodyear, Arizona. I bet there's not freezing rain in Goodyear. I lived in Ahwatukee for a while, and this last couple of weeks has really made me miss the warm weather. Seattle, Washington, Durham, North Carolina, welcome. Miami, oh man, I bet it's nice in Miami. Palm Springs. Yep, I'm going to take a trip with my wife here in a couple of weeks. We're going to go down to the border, get somewhere warmer for the weekend. Okay, so let's close the poll. Hopefully everybody had time to participate there. What's the verdict there, Jacob? There we go. Okay, do you currently automate anything in your business? Only 61% said yes. Holy moly, we've got some work to do, people. What's your biggest struggle with your database? Keeping it up to date, that is a big one. Staying in touch with everyone, remembering to follow up, keeping it organized. Well, that's a little self-serving because Realvolve helps with all of those things. And I'll try to make sure to touch on all of them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write this down so I don't have to go back and look. So keeping it up to date, staying in touch with everyone, remembering to follow up, and keeping it organized. So I'm going to touch on all of those things because it's staying in touch with everyone is definitely the #1 answer there, but the rest are pretty evenly split. So I'll make sure to touch on all 4 of those things here during the brief webinar that we've got today. So why is personal automation so important? I know that it's easy to just say, well, of course, personal automation is important, but really want to make sure that we understand and are motivated to become more personalized with our automations. And it takes a little bit of work to create personal automation and to stay up with it. But businesses that personalize web experiences see an average of a 19% increase in sales. So just ask yourself, what would life be like if you were just 19% more profitable overnight? Personalized marketing emails receive 29% higher open rates and a 41% higher click-through rate. So we can get people to engage more when we use personalized subject lines and personalized emails. I'm going to talk about that. 70% of companies don't personalize marketing emails. And I think that's probably true of a lot of us here. Our emails, the one-off emails that we send are certainly personalized, but when it comes to drip campaigns, past client follow-up, newsletters, and things like that, it's a little bit more difficult to do automation, and so we just don't end up doing it. So hopefully you'll get some ideas here on how to make your first steps there. So I want to share some quick tips really briefly. And then I want to share some samples of automation and talk a little bit more about the nuances. But I do just have some 5 kind of quick hit tips here. Tip #1 is autoresponders. So autoresponders, meaning a lead comes in and they immediately get a message back. Autoresponders have a 50% open rate. Now, depending on your lead source, depending on how many leads you're getting, whether they're from social media and kind of self-generated in a way versus purchasing leads from a portal website where you don't really have a relationship with them, that open rate is going to vary wildly. But the autoresponders themselves have, on average, a 50% open rate, and that is huge, people. That is probably at least double what you're going to get on your other emails if they're automated. And so a 50% open rate is huge. Now, autoresponders, of course, save a ton of time. The crazy thing is when a lead is generated in the middle of the night, which happens very often, a lot of times somebody will be 11 o'clock at night browsing on their iPad in bed, looking at homes or something, and they'll see something they like and fill out a form. It's very common. Even when it's late at night like that, or in the middle of the night, let's say at 2 a.m., the autoresponder will still get opened, because if they're on their phone or on their iPad, a lot of times they'll see that notification come in and open it and look at it. And that's your first opportunity to brand yourself, to give them a really good first impression of what you and your team are like. So autoresponders, though, should be based on lead source. So if it is a portal lead versus a lead from your own website, make sure you have different autoresponders that add the context. Because if they come back 2 days later and open that autoresponder, you want to make sure to remind them where they originally filled out a form or where you got their information from. It's very, very important to open your autoresponder with that information. And so what I do is, hey, I'm reaching out to you because I got your information from xyz.com or whatever that might be. Autoresponders can be emails and text messages. It could be either or it could be both. And so keep that in mind. In Realvolve, you can create autoresponder text messages, and I recommend both with a caveat. Your best lead sources, you should rely on text message autoresponders. If it's a more of a high volume lead source where you have lower quality leads, you've got to be careful with the text message. Sending text messages out too frequently will get people to unsubscribe. So you have to be even more respectful in text message automation than you are in email automation. Keep that in mind. So here's a really good stat too. So only 15% of agents are using texting as a part of their client experience, and yet 40% of real estate clients prefer to communicate by text message, and that number is on the rise. The trend is up. I know me personally, if I'm dealing with anybody professionally, whether it's a plumber, whether it's a real estate agent or anybody, I want them to send me, if they're sending me an invoice, of course, send that to my email. But if you're just like letting me know that you're coming, you're going to be late, or you need to talk to me, text me. That's way better for me. It's more convenient. And the open rates on text messages are like 98%. 98% of text messages get read. And emails, it's way lower than that. So we do have some samples of some autoresponders, some one-off emails that you can automate in bulk, as well as the text messages. And you can just Google. So I'm gonna send you this link in the follow-up email here, but you can just go to Google and do lead conversion emails Realvolve. And the first result is going to be our blog article with 10 real estate lead conversion emails that you can add to as a part of your automation. So there's the templates are included in that blog article there. All right, so are you going to say where to get the autoresponder? So I guess this is kind of a 201 level course here. But if you have questions, please stop me. If you don't understand something that I'm talking about here, stop me. So Tim, where to get the autoresponder would be, you need to feed your leads into a system. So pretty much every lead source you can get out there, whether it's a portal website or anything, you're going to get a notification via email. What I highly recommend, I think it's nearly unacceptable if you don't have that lead coming into your CRM, your client relationship management database. That lead should be tied somehow. So for example, in Realvolve, which is a CRM and a workflow platform, in our system, I can go in and connect all of my lead sources. And once I connect that lead source, I can set up an autoresponder for that lead source specifically. And that way I get the context. I can reference in the autoresponder that goes back to the client where I got their information, et cetera. And then I can follow up with an additional drip campaign and reminders and things. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. So any other questions on that, please let me know. And Jacob posted the link to the blog in the chat. So you'll see there at 12:15, Jacob posted that for me. It might be 2:15 or 11:15 your time. All right, tip number 2, time-based automation. So I call this delays. So work your automation into delays. This is just one aspect of how to run your automation and make it a little bit personal. So 7 days after start date, for example, you have an email that's scheduled to go out of your CRM or your lead management platform, and you can reference that time delay. So when you're crafting your message in your campaigns, say, hey, I got your information 7 days ago or 3 days ago, or hey, I've been trying to get in touch with you over the last week. That gives you credit for all of the other messages that you've sent, and the fact that you have organized systems that are staying in touch with people, you win brownie points for that. So it helps you convert that lead when you're giving yourself credit for all of the messages that you sent. And then include information about the lead source or the stage. So for example, it's been almost a year since you moved into your house. This applies to leads, it applies to past clients, it applies to current clients. It's a really subtle thing to include references to how long it's been, but again, you get brownie points for that, and it all adds up to being a much more personal experience for everybody. Tip number 3, event-based automation. So tip number 2 was time-based, which I look at as stacking from the start date or stacking from some other date like their move-in date. But event-based is a little bit different. So around birthdays, around anniversaries, around home purchase, you can do something similar and tie the message that you're sending to your clients based on that time. Now, a lot of CRMs can automate this. Not a lot of them do it really well. And this is something that we have focused on to a very deep level in Realvolve, in our CRM. So you can really simply follow up with every single person in your database, right? So staying in touch with every client was something that 55% of you said was difficult. So it's easy to craft a simple birthday message, a simple relationship anniversary message, and keep track of husbands and wives and partners. And then also on the home purchase anniversaries, those are so stupid simple in Realvolve that you'll make sure that every single lead has a campaign. Every single one of your past clients is also on a campaign, and every individual in your database, you should be collecting birthdays and relationship anniversaries and things like that. But you simply plug that date into our system, and we'll take care of the rest and make sure that they're at least getting a text message on their birthday. Of course, we want to personally call people if we can. We want to send them a thoughtful message, but the safety net aspect should at least be in place, where there's something automated that's still personal to the person that's receiving that message. And the reason why it's so easy in Realvolve to do that, like I said, we've gone really deep with our automation. So we can do the time delays and specific dates that I referenced, and other CRMs in the industry can too. But what we've added in is decision points and previous things getting done. And now you can mix and match what we call our 4D automation to create a very personal experience for every single client, whether they're a lead, a current client, a partner that you work with, like inspectors, loan officers, or whether they're a past client that you've done business with. And everything is templated out. So all of your data entry at every point, checklists around tasks, emails, text messages, entire campaigns, reminders to your clients and the other people that you're working with, all of that is templated out. It's placed into our 4D automation workflow platform, and everybody in your database should be followed up on in that instance. Here's one example of some automation, and I absolutely love this one. So, oh, and there's a question here. All right, let me just go to a question, then I'm going to get to this this automation example here. So leads I've gotten through a lead gen platform have produced a lot of leads. When I sent them an automated email, I had a lot of people responding that they weren't the right person, wrong name, not in the area I was mentioning, etc. It's made me gun shy. I stopped my drips with these folks. How common is this? Should I push through and send anyhow, knowing there will be some level of error? So, anonymous. I would say yes. I would just push through anyway and do it, because no no contact is worse than the wrong kind of contact. Now, certainly if it were me, I would try to diagnose, why is this wrong? Is it just that the data source is error prone and there's no way to fix it, or is there some disconnect? And if it's just that there's a data source that's error prone, but you're still occasionally getting business out of it, I still might say, yes, I'm going to do it. Now, here's my warning though on that topic. If you are sending a lot, like a high volume of messages to the wrong people with the wrong context, you are exposing yourself to spam flags. So if they're marking in their email inbox, this is spam, this isn't for me, etc., then your deliverability rate goes down. It's going to be harder for you to get your messages into the inbox. And at some point, people might start unsubscribing, marking as spam, and Gmail and Hotmail and other email inbox providers will start being suspicious of you sending into their user base, because they've got to protect the inbox for their users and their customers. So I'd be careful with that, but I probably would push through if it wasn't alarmingly error prone. There's a spectrum there, and it's hard for me to really give you a definitive answer. But obviously, step number one is figure out if it's just error prone and there's nothing you can do about it, or if there's a disconnect in how the leads are being categorized as they come in. And if you have any more context, feel free to share that, and I'll be happy to address that further. So automate feedback requests. This is another, again, this is one of my favorite things to do. So we know that getting lots of reviews across the web is a really important thing for us. When someone Googles my name, I want them to see only positive things. And so if someone's Googling your name, what comes up first? I would start there. And so if you don't know, if you're in Google Chrome, for example, if you do Command-Shift-N, that opens up what's called an incognito window. And that's the best way to Google yourself. That's what somebody else would see, not logged into any of your websites, no browser history. It's kind of a cold Google search that will show you what comes up for your name when you're Googling yourself. So on a Mac, it's Command-Shift-N. On a PC, on a Windows machine, it is Control-Shift-N if you're in Google Chrome. And that'll load a new window, Google your name, and see what comes up. And if there's a review site that comes up first, and maybe you only have 3.5 stars or 4 stars or something like that, you should start automating messages to past clients, especially if they're really happy. If you did a great job with them, if things went smoothly, I would then put them on a follow-up campaign, just requesting feedback. And I would request feedback over a 1-month period, maybe send them 4 messages. The first week after closing, when things are happy, ping them a few times, send them a text message, call them, hey, it would really help me out if you left me a review on this website, and specifically direct them to that site that you want to build up your ratings on. And after you've built up ratings on one site, you switch to the next one and link to your review page on those websites in your automation. So in Realvolve, again, this is a pretty easy thing for you to automate. We can simply have a campaign that starts once a property is marked closed. So if you have a listing and it closes, the feedback requests will automatically go out. If you're working with a buyer, as soon as they move in, the feedback requests move out. And it's simply checking a box that, yes, everything's closed, everything's done with this file, and then boom, the automation kicks in for feedback requests. Tip number 4, one key to personalizing automation is to leverage that bulk marketing. You got to cover your bases. We got the autoresponders. We have some other just bulk marketing messaging. It could be newsletters for your past clients, but you've got to mix in the personal messages. So in this way, your prospects and clients are never going to really know what was automated versus personally sent. And a really easy way to do this to start is pick 12 or 36, some multiple of 12. Pick 36 of your best clients, for example, that you've worked with, the people you like the most, the people you got along with the most, the people that have given you the most referrals. And you can create a task in your CRM once a month to follow up with those people with something personal. I would start there. and it's a text message checking in with them. It's a phone call the next month, just saying, hi, how are the kids? You know, how's COVID impacting you and your family? Just check in with them. And then also make sure you have some sort of a newsletter tool, home property valuation tool. And one of our products, FirePoint, has a home valuation tool built into it. So some sort of automation that you don't have to touch every month is key, but pick some people that you're going to follow up with very personally so that you can build up a stronger relationship with those folks and start getting more repeat and referral business out of them. Another way to mix and match is make sure that your follow-up has lots of different mediums in it. So not just only email drip campaigns, but if you have phone numbers, if you have an address, make sure to emails, text messages, phone calls, video emails, graphic-rich newsletters, direct mail, mix it up, hit them from all angles. Again, this is a really good way to make you stand out, and it's easier for your messages to get through when they are personal. So if you're doing a good job, for example, of dripping an email newsletter and periodically sending direct mail, when you text them a video of you on their birthday saying, hey, happy birthday, I just wanted to reach out. That birthday video is even more impactful because they know you're consistently following up with them. They know that they matter to you. So the mixing and matching really supports your message and reinforces your relationship. You can also mix and match the internal stuff. So you can create reminders for you and your team for these for the personal phone calls. You can script out the phone calls, and that's really easy to do in Realvolve as well, so that when a phone call reminder comes up, you can see what to say and when to say it. Prioritize your A clients. That's what I talked about, the multiples of 12. Get 12 or 24 or 36 clients. Label them as A clients or tag them in your CRM in some way. And then you can create checklists at each step and close the loop with each client. So anytime a lead comes in, you put them on an automated campaign, personalized as much as possible with some of those previous tips that I shared. Every time you close a transaction, put them on a get reviews automation plan, and then some sort of a longer term follow-up plan. In this way, if you do this every time, so starting this month, every lead gets on a long-term drip campaign. Every deal that you close gets on a follow-up campaign. Pretty soon, every single person in your database is going to be followed up with in some automated way that is still a little bit personalized. Let me show you one example of how our 4D automation works. Again, if you have any questions about this, feel free to chime in here. So a few more minutes and I'm going to be done, and I'm going to open up for questions on my tips that I shared. So the 4D automation, one second here. So I do have one more tip. So I was on tip 4. I've got one more tip for you, and then we'll open up for questions. So within our 4D automation, in this scenario that I'm going to show you, this sample of personal automation, this is an automation that I would run every single one of my clients through. But because it's based in the 4Ds, the delays, the dates, the decisions, and the dones, it feels so personal to the person on the receiving end of this. So this would be in the middle of a transaction. So this is a contract to close. I'm working with a buyer, time to do the home inspection. And this is just a sample. There's lots of different automations like this that are personal in Realvolve at different stages. So all I have to do now that it's time to do the home inspection is I select the home inspector and drag and drop them into the home inspector slot. I set the date and time of the home inspection in Realvolve. Now the 4D automation kicks in. It's going to send a confirmation to everybody involved, and it might be up to 6 people at this point. It could be me, my assistant, the listing agent on the other end of the transaction, the buyer and their spouse, and the home inspector themselves. 6 people all getting a confirmation. It dynamically inserts the date and time and the location of the appointment, as well as filling in the buyer client and their spouse on why they should consider being there or not being there, whatever your preference is. Then a day before the home inspection date and time, Realvolve will remind them with an email and a text message. It could be either or it could be both. Again, dynamically inserting the date, time, and location. You do not have to touch anything at this point. once the home inspection takes place, Realvolve's going to wait 2 days and then remind me and my team to double check that I got the home inspection report back. If I check a box that says no, Realvolve fires off an email to the home inspector politely requesting that they send that back to me. And then once I click the box yes, Realvolve's going to remind me of any due diligence, any negotiations that might need to take place. And then depending on what happens there, I'm on to the next step. So as you can see, most of this was completely automated. I had to say who the home inspector was, I had to say the date and time, and then I had to check a box 2 days later, did I get the home inspection report back, yes or no? Those were my 3 inputs. Otherwise, it was all automated, included all the right people with all the right information. Now that is personal automation that will make your clients feel blown away. They'll be blown away by how on top of everything you and your team are. And again, this is just one milestone, an inspection. There's contingency dates, there's loan dates, there's closing dates, there's all kinds of dates, termite inspection, well inspection, anything you have in your area can be included here, and you can create the 4Ds around it all. Last tip. So automate the things that you avoid. Now, this is the best thing about all of our systems that we have today. The things that I don't do well, I need to automate. The things that I don't do well, I should mark in the calendar. I should use my system to help me so that I'm not as stressed out, so that I don't forget things. So keeping in touch with people, categorizing people, staying organized, all of those things that we struggle with can be automated. And by the way, I didn't mention this, but within the 4D automation framework in Realvolve, you can actually be adding and removing tags in your database. So if you get a lead and then you get a signed agreement with them of some sort, you can check a box in Realvolve. It will add the tags that they're like an active buyer or it's pre-listing time. So you can have that pre-list tag go to the client. Once your listing goes live, it can automate that tag being applied to the client. Again, just keep everything so crisp and organized for you and your team, and personalize the communication that the clients are getting because all of those tags are perfectly in line. So here's one example of that. In Realvolve, you can create seller reports. So as things are happening on a listing throughout the week, you can be putting in notes on the notes tab in your Realvolve account. So look, the listing, we did an open house, we marketed it here, the photographer came out, everything's on track. You can just be filling that out as you go throughout the week. And then on Monday morning, Realvolve will automatically gather up all of those notes from the week and send it off to your sellers. And it can just look for new information and put all the new information at the top and then remind them of all of the old information down at the bottom. Once you get through listing a property and selling a property that way and keeping the sellers up to date with everything that you did, they're blown away now by how much you actually had to do to list their house and get it sold. And you're just priming them for a really good review, referrals, and of course, doing business with you again if they're still in the area. So is there a way to check my database and see who is on what workflow for follow-ups like this? There is. So Anna May, there is a way to do that, especially if you're using tags. So the best way to do that is use tags. If you have tags that are automatically being assigned in an activity in Realvolve, then you can simply search those tags and see who's on that automation, who's on that workflow. The other thing you can do is just search your tasks. But the best way that I know is through the automated tagging system. Realvolve can add tags and remove tags. So if they're an active listing, it closes, now they're a past client of yours, it can remove the listing tag and add a past client tag. It can even add, past client, seller, and 2021. And so that way your database is super clean and you're staying on top of it. So last poll and question time. So would you like us to contact you about workflows and automation? Would love to get your feedback here. And by the way, we have tagging system and training around tags, how to organize your tags, how to use tags properly, how to automate the tags. We've got hundreds of workflows in a library. Some are free, some come premium. The premium workflows are more detailed and have taken us a lot of time to create. We relied on the wisdom of our crowd, our community of tens of thousands of agents that we've worked with, and they have all contributed to our workflow library. So we've got the best of the best automation, scripts, email templates, text messaging templates, campaigns, you name it, in our library. We've got something for everyone. Regardless of the lead source, regardless of how long people have been in your database, we've got 10-year follow-up campaigns. We have client appreciation campaigns that are both COVID-friendly and non-COVID friendly. We've got it all. So let us know if you want some help in this arena, and we can get you started really quickly on the path to keeping your database up to date, staying in touch with every single client in your database, reminding you of all of the follow-up that you should be doing or that you committed to do, and also keeping everything organized and clean so that when your head hits the pillow at night, you can rest easy knowing that there's nothing you're forgetting. It's all taken care of. It's in our system. It's both automated and personalized. Any other questions? So I did want to quickly mention as well that we've got an offer right now. So we have a really special promotion that we're running this week. If you purchase an annual subscription to Realvolve, you're going to get our basic suite for free. And that's a combination of workflows and campaigns that we put together. Or if you purchase the dialer bundle in addition to your subscription, you're going to get our premium suite free. And that includes even more automation. So just to give you a sample, this is our premium suite. So we've got how to follow up with a buyer after the closing so that you can make sure that turns into a listing for you in 5 years. A buyer escrow, which is the contract to close. Check-ins bi-weekly, check-ins weekly for A clients and A leads. Getting the reviews, so that campaign that I referenced earlier, you'll get that. Autoresponders, listing appointment automation, what to do before a listing appointment, how to follow up after a listing appointment if you didn't get an agreement signed, listing maintenance, listing marketing, listing process offers, open house buyer lead, open house seller lead, and seller escrow with the contract to close on the seller side. So all of that comes for you for free when you get the dialer bundle in addition to Realvolve. If you have any questions about that, ask those questions. You can email us sales@Realvolve or info@Realvolve, and we can answer questions about that. If you fill out the poll and say that you're interested in us following up with you, we will reach out and answer any questions that you might have and try to figure out if this is the right fit for you and the right time for you. So hopefully these were some valuable tips. And of course, we'd love to chat with you and find out if it's a good fit. No is a perfectly acceptable answer if it's not the right time or you don't think it's the right fit for you. We won't continue to just keep hounding you over and over again. We do want to make sure we get your questions answered and make sure that's a win-win. Is there a place where I can see in one place who opened drip campaign emails without opening every lead? I have to open every single lead to see what was delivered on and who opened it. Yeah, so Terry, I'll have somebody follow up with you on that. So that's a FirePoint question. And I think I know the answer, but I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm much more familiar with Realvolve than FirePoint. But I'll have somebody on the team follow up with you, Terry, and make sure we get that answered. Justin has the same question. You got it, Justin. I will. I'm writing your name down too, and I'll have someone follow up with you. Okay. Any other questions? Did I miss anything? Any other questions about automation, about tagging, keeping things organized, how to follow up with people, autoresponders, lead categorization? Any other questions on that front? Oh, so Justin, if you're So Justin, in Realvolve, there is a way to see the stats on your email. If you actually go to the template in Realvolve, you can open up the stats and see the open rates and click-through rates and things like that on an individual email, just so you know. But I will have someone follow up with you just to make sure we get all of your questions answered. And then, Terry, to answer your question, FirePoint and Realvolve are two separate CRMs. Really, FirePoint is more heavily focused on the lead management side of things, and Realvolve is a little bit more focused on the listings, transactions, and past client follow-up. So it's elevating your level of customer service, as well as doing a really good job staying in touch with past clients. So both systems do all of it, but there's a subtle difference in the focus there. Any other questions anybody has? Feedback for me, what you'd like to see in the next one, what you found valuable, what I should skip next time. Questions, comments, verbal abuse, please share it all. Always trying to get better and make sure that I'm providing good value and sharing a lot of insights here on these quick webinars. I appreciate everybody spending 45 minutes with us here today. I know your time's valuable, and so I try to be as respectful of everybody's time as possible. It looks like there's no more questions or comments, so we'll just wrap it up here. Again, reach out to us. Oh, there is a Q&A. So how does one automate tags? You can automate tags in Realvolve through an activity. So an activity has what's called actions on the activity, and underneath the actions within an activity, within a workflow, you can add and remove tags. There's a little box there that says add tag, remove tag for that step in the workflow. So each step in the workflow, you can add and remove tags. So if you're a current Realvolve customer and you have questions about that, shoot an email to support@realvolve.com. They'll get back to you today. And if you're not a Realvolve customer, reach out to sales@realvolve.com and they can walk you through that. They can do a quick screen share and show you just how easy it is to get that done. So again, special right now on the basic suite and the premium suite. Whether you purchase an annual Realvolve account or you get the annual account and the dialer bundle, lots of really good stuff there that comes from very experienced agents with teams. It's great for a solo agent, especially good for a team because of the dynamics of communicating and delegating within the team. Workflows help with that whole process. So again, we're going to send this out. You're going to get a follow-up email with the recording and a couple of the links that we talked about here today. Appreciate your time, and we hope to see you on the next one, as well as hope to talk to you soon if you're interested. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.